Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Brad and welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel for the very first time. This is week 2 for the book report. 2 weeks in a row. Off to a good start already. But this is the video where I'm going to try to check in every week to let you all know what I'm reading, what I'm planning to read, all that kind of fun bookish stuff. And these will be coming out on Sunday afternoons. I'm actually filming it on Saturday, but they'll be coming out on Sunday afternoons. And last week, filmed it on Saturday, and then the next day on Sunday, we got like 6 to 8 inches of snow, which I'm not a big fan of the snow, but my kids were excited about it and went outside and played with the kids for a little bit. My youngest, he was outside for like 20 minutes and then he was over it. He wanted to come back in, but my daughter and I, we stayed outside for an hour, 2 hours or so, throwing snowballs, running around, chasing each other, whatnot. And we built a snowman, which I don't ever remember building a snowman before. I feel like that's the first time I've ever done that. And it's a lot harder than it seems to actually get the round balls without them completely collapsing and falling apart, stacking them on top of each other. He looks a little derpy, but hey, she was excited about it, so that's all that matters. And he's still out there because it's still snowing outside, and it's still freezing cold. And so, we played outside for almost 2 hours until it started to freezing rain on us. So we came back in. So Monday, we had the 6 to 8 inches of snow and then a nice layer of ice over top of it. So before, it was coming up to my ankle, maybe my mid shin, depending on the snow drifts. And on Monday, basically walking on top of it. The dogs were definitely walking on top of it when I took them out. They weren't heavy enough to break through. So it's been a fun week. The kids have been off school for an extra week of break. My daughter's definitely ready to go back. I think I'm ready for them all to go back. It's cool having them home, but I'm ready for the normal routine to start back, them going back to school. I'm ready for all the snow to melt. I'm over the snow already. We had it. I'm done with it. Let's move on. So books and blizzards this week is what we had. So reading wise, what did I read this week? I finished up 2 books. One book I talked about last week that I was reading and I finished up, and that was West by Carrie Davies. I thought this one was pretty good. I enjoyed this one. I think I'd give it like 3 stars if we're doing star ratings. But this one, I think last week I said, that he was kind of finding maybe dinosaur bones, or dinosaur bones had been discovered. And I think I was wrong about that, because I was sort of saying, relating it to Jurassic Park in a sort of fashion. But I think it was more like mammoth bones is what had been discovered in here. But anyway, this is about a father and daughter. The guy's name is Cy Bellman. They live in Pennsylvania. This takes place somewhere in like the 1800s. And there's the discovery of these giant bones from these creatures that they're discovered in Kentucky, which was discovered in like Big Bone Lake, Kentucky. There's like these pits and things like that where sulfur and everything were. They think it attracted the animals there. But these creatures were discovered, and it just like makes this guy's imagination go crazy. He like becomes enamored with them. He wants to know if these creatures are still out there roaming around and what they actually look like and all that stuff. So much so that he leaves his daughter behind in Pennsylvania. She's like 10. He leaves her behind with his sister and heads out west, as the book is called, trying to discover and see these animals for himself. And he's kind of following the path of, loosely following the path of like Lewis and Clark when they did their expedition all the way out west. And it's just kind of these little snapshots, sort of flipping back and forth between the daughter and the father. These little snapshots in time over this duration of probably about 2 years or so, and what's going on with them and how his adventure is going, how she's at home, missing her father, having to deal with her aunt and like the helper that's there, who kind of turns out to be a bit of a creep. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I wish there was more detail. It's short. It's only about 150 pages. I think this definitely could have been expanded to like a 300, 400 page novel. Like, for example, it talked about like his first winter out west, and it was just like a few sentences about how harsh it was, how cold it was, how he didn't have much food, and then it moved on to spring. So I feel like a lot more detail could have been written in here. But what was here was an interesting read. I did enjoy it. Sort of this guy's adventure, heading out west and following his dreams. Maybe not the best thing to follow since he left his kid behind, but nonetheless, chasing your dreams and just the exploration and an adventure type novel. There was a Native American that he hired to help him out, which was a cool character. The guy's name, he was like a 17, 18-year-old kid, but for whatever reason, the tribe had named him. His name was Old Woman at a Distance, I believe it was, because he was kind of short. He had bow legs. I guess he had long hair, and I guess from a distance, he looks like an old woman, and that was the Native American sort of, what's it called? Helping him out, trying to figure out where to go. That was that guy's name, and I thought that was an interesting name. The kid didn't like it, but that's what his name was. So West by Carrie Davies. I thought it was pretty good. It definitely made me want to read more stories about the American West and the discovery of that and the exploration of that and whatnot. I've got another book that I'm have in mind that I kind of want to read that has to deal with that. Has to deal with the loss of the American buffalo and how it was almost extinct and it's come back a little bit. But yeah, West by Carrie Davies, I thought it was pretty good overall. The other book I picked up and read last week, another really short one. This is The Jewel and Her Lapidary by Fran Wilde. This book is part of a series. This is book one. I think there's 2 other books after this. I've got them over there in the stack somewhere. But this one was just okay. It's super short. It's only like 80 pages. And it felt like the pages that were here felt like it was a couple chapters ripped out of a much longer story. We're sort of dropped right into the story. Not really a spoiler because it happens at the very beginning, but the royal family, these jewels as they're called, they're kind of being assassinated. And then the end of the book also ended kind of abruptly. And it's only 80 pages, which didn't really lend much time to get invested in the characters. So I didn't really care what happened to them. Not that they were poorly written, we just didn't get to spend that much time with them. The world itself was pretty cool. It didn't say this, but I imagine it as sort of a fantasy-inspired world inspired by like Chinese or Japanese culture. That's sort of the aesthetic I was imagining. And the magic system was pretty cool as well. But again, it was so short a time period, we didn't really get much time with it. But there's these different gems, sapphires, rubies, opals, and whatnot. And there's certain people who are able to speak to these gems and hear these gems talk. And they can sort of grant you different powers or different abilities to give you courage or calm you down or put you to sleep or have people just listen to what you say. And that was interesting. But again, it felt like we were barely sort of scratching the surface of that in the story that we got here. We're following, I don't even remember the character's name. Lynn is the jewel. And then we're following her lapidary, Seema, as this assassination's taking place and them trying to survive and not be killed by this conquering force that is coming in. What was here, it was okay, but I just wish there was more detail. It was too short, in my opinion, for me to really get attached or invested to the characters or the world or anything like that. It was cool. I just wish there was more to it. It was okay. If I had to give it stars, I'd probably give it 2. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. Yeah, it was okay. Like I said, there's 2 more books in the series. Will I read them? I don't know if I will or not, because I don't think they take place directly after this, like following these characters. I think it's other characters in the world. A bunch of time has passed. I don't know how much I care to read on, but I finished The Jewel and Her Lapidary by Fran Wilde. And then I'm also currently reading the Spine Breakers book club pick for this quarter, first quarter of this year. And that is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I'm a little over 200 pages in, 211 pages in so far. So I think I'm about halfway done with Jurassic Park. For me personally, I'm going to continue on after that and also read The Lost World. That's not part of the book club, but I'm going to go ahead and read it as well. And I'm really, really enjoying Jurassic Park so far. It's quite different than the movie, especially at the beginning. There's lots of other characters and locations and things that happen that are not in the movie. The beginning of the book is much more of a mystery. We, the readers, know what's going on, based on the cover, and I'm sure everyone's seen the movie and stuff. But the characters don't know outside of the park that there are dinosaurs in the world now, so it's cool kind of watching them, reading about them, discovering what these new lizards are. They're biting kids and older people and stuff like that. And then once we get into the park, it's following a lot of the same story beats that the movie does, but they all kind of come about in a different way in the book. So spoilers if you haven't ever seen the movie, but the power goes out like it does in the movie. The T-Rex escapes and attacks the cars. Nedry's stealing the embryos and stuff, but it all kind of happens just a bit different, but sort of following the same story beats. And I still think I like the movie more. The movie, cliche thing to say, the movie feels more cinematic. The way things happen, the way things transpire, as opposed to the way they do in the book. But I'm still really enjoying it. Much more of a mystery, like I said. Much more of the kind of industrial espionage going on, where other Nedry's stealing the embryos for another biotech company and things like that. Still really fun. Still really enjoying it, and excited to finish it up and then continue on with The Lost World. So I'm about 200 pages into Jurassic Park so far, and I'm really, really digging it. I'm glad I'm reading it finally. Because I've read The Lost World. I think I mentioned this last video. I think I read The Lost World many, many years ago. I don't know why I never read Jurassic Park. But I'm finally glad getting around to it, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies. Probably top 5 movies of all time. I've been trying to watch it recently, but it's not on any streaming stuff unless you pay for Stars. I think it's on there. And I'm too lazy to get up and put the DVDs in the DVD player to watch it. So I've been watching the Jurassic World movies, the new ones with Chris Pratt. They're not as good, but they still have dinosaurs in them. So that is always fun. So that's what I've read and what I'm currently reading. And then what do I plan to read for this upcoming week? So I've got a couple books here that I might pick up. Right now I'm filling these and might read them. Will that actually happen? I don't know. I'm kind of a mood reader. I feel like that's going to be my vibe for the year, just picking up whatever I want at the time instead of setting a set TBR, because I don't ever tend to do very good with those. So right now, these are a few of the books that are getting my attention that I might pick up for this coming week. This first one, I love the cover on this one. It's kind of abstract, and the cover is what made me pick it up initially. This is Pineville Trace by Wes Blake. He is a fellow Kentuckian, a Kentucky author. And when I was talking to him about this book, it is kind of a novel in Flash. So each chapter is a little Flash story, but they're all kind of connected together to tell this overarching story. And it's about a guy who was sentenced to a minimum security prison in eastern Kentucky. He's a former Southern revival preacher and confidence man, and he escapes from prison, taking only his cat named Buffalo on the run with him to try to escape his former life. I don't know, something about it just sounded cool. The cover was really intriguing as well. And a novel in Flash sounds interesting. So super short chapters. It's totally up my alley. So I might check this one out. Pineville Trace by Wes Blake. Another one, this is one I've had for a while, I've been wanting to read for a while. I don't know if I can show the cover without the algorithm saying, people shouldn't watch this or not. It's kind of blurry anyway, but I'll cover the cover up some. But this is Scanlines by Todd Kiesling. And this is about, it takes place in the 80s, where this group of kids, they get a hold of this VHS tape. They think it's some movie or probably a porno or something, I don't know. And it ends up being a video of this dude's suicide. He, blows his brains out. It's like a congressman or something, I believe. And from there, it just completely messes with these kids and, messes with their psyche and stuff. And I guess it all devolves from there. Almost kind of like the Ring movie, and you watch it, the Ring, the VHS, and, what is it, 7 days later you get killed. I feel like it's sort of along those kind of same lines, like haunted videotape type story. That's what that's about. Watching a VHS that they shouldn't have watched, and then bad things start happening to them quickly. That's Scanlines by Todd Kiesling. I like Todd's work. That's one I've been wanting to read for a while. It's a shorter one. I think I'm going to try to fit in some shorter works, longer books, Jurassic Park plus Lost World. The whole thing together is 800 pages, and then smaller novellas like West and The Jewel in Her Lapidary. I think I'm going to go alternate back and forth, longer, shorter, like that. I think I'll get more reading done that way, sort of break it up between all the big books and stuff. But the final one I have my eyes on right now is In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davidson. I love Andy Davidson's work. He's one of my all-time favorite authors. He's only got 3 books out, though. They are The Boatman's Daughter, what is it called? The Hollow Kind, and then this is his first book, his debut novel. But the other 2, 5-star reads. I love his work. He's more kind of lyrical, literary type horror. but he's amazing. More people need to check his stuff out. Not enough people talk about Andy Davidson. And The Hollow Kind is in my top 10 horror books of all time. I'll pimp that video out, link it up here in the cards if you haven't watched that. Definitely awesome, awesome book. The Bowman's Daughter could have also been on that list. I picked one or the other. Chose The Hollow Kind. But In the Valley of the Sun, this is a debut novel. I don't really know much about it other than it takes place in 1980s in Texas, and it's a vampire novel, kind of like a vampire Western book is what I'm assuming since it takes place in Texas. There's a Texas Ranger involved. I know there's, like I said, there's cowboys, vampires. I love vampires. I love Andy Davidson. And I've been wanting to read more kind of Western stuff. This takes place in Texas. So this is like checking all the boxes right now. Author, vampires, a Western. So yeah, definitely want to check this one out. If not this week, definitely this is one that is going to be on my 25 books I want to read for 2025. This is In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davidson. And speaking of that, the 25 books I want to read this year, I know last book report video last week, I said I was going to do that video. I'm still planning to, but there's a few books I want to read this year that I don't own yet that I want to go out and buy before I do that list. And I don't want to go buy them before I complete the Read What You Own challenge. I've got 2 books left. I wanted to read 25 books. I kind of already broke it because I bought Wind and Truth back in December, whenever it came out. But I'm trying not to buy anything else until I finish that. So I've got 2 books left to read. I think that's why I picked out some shorter ones to read so I can get through that challenge and buy some books so I can do the 25 books I want to read in 2025. Like one of them is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry is one I want to read this year that I don't own yet. Chain Gang All-Stars is one. I can't remember the author's name. There's a few like that that I don't own that I want to buy to put on that list that I want to read this year. And I think that's about it. I think I've rambled on long enough, probably way too long. But that's all I have for you guys today. So hope you enjoyed your time with me today. Thanks for hanging out. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all again later. Bye.